Welcome to the CPAP Games live from the Hayes bedroom. It's another eventful night, Bruce.
It sure is, Ron. Steve has been flailing everywhere, struggling with his CPAP.
His wife, Michelle, is as tense as a fiddle string, trying to contain her rage.
Michelle's rolling Steve over.
There he goes, and the mask is off! Oh my, the snoring!
Michelle throws an elbow, now a shove.
And she's leaving for the couch. Taking her place is the Hayes' 100-pound lab. Bask in that dog breath, Steve.
With all this struggle, Steve should get Inspire.
Absolutely, Bruce. Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment that gives you comfortable, restful sleep with the click of a remote. That's right, a button. As you sleep, Inspire keeps you breathing normally and sleeping peacefully. There's no mask and no hose, just sleep.
Learn more at inspiresleep.com. That's inspiresleep.com.
Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marcus show. I'm your host, Marcus Ogden, and on today's episode, we're joined by Chuck Copenspire. Before we bring up Chuck to the stage, I want to thank two of our amazing sponsors, Power Plus Mouth Guard, owned by Dr. Michael Hutchison. It's a mouth guard brand to help you increase strength, increase stamina, and reduce the possibility of getting a concussion. And Stout Franchise Advisors, owned by my good friend Doug Stout. It helps you either get into the franchise business or turn your existing business into a franchise. Now, let's bring up to the stage Chuck Copenspire. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, Chuck, question for you. What does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
To me, authenticity means owning the holistic picture of who you are. That's the parts of you that you're proud of, the parts of you that you're working on, and especially as a leader, really owning that you're not perfect and that these are the things you struggle with and these are the things you're great at.
You know, Chuck, you said something very interesting, like, learning to accept what you're good at, which you need to work on. A lot of people love to tell you what they're good at, what they're great at, and how wonderful they are, right? But a lot of people don't like to talk about what they struggle with or what's hard or what's difficult. Why do you feel that is, Chuck? Why do you think that's really something that people struggle with in that regard?
Something that comes up a lot with me with my clients is folks don't want to talk about their journey. They don't want to talk about times that they've struggled. And I think there's something in the air where people think if they show any weakness that their business will fail. But I've really found that telling the truth about things that I've struggled with helps me connect with my audience more and makes them more interested in working with me because they know I know what they're going through, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. As you know, Chuck, so you found us through matchmaker.fm. Would love you to shed some light on what made you reach out to us. Because I tell you all the time, there are over 4 million podcasts worldwide right now. Everybody's trying to start one, which, hey, it's a great brand. It's a great thing to do, but it's really hard to capture that space to get people to not just want to listen to your show, right, Chuck, but also reach out to you. Would love you to share with our listeners, because you have a very interesting story we're going to get into in a moment. What was it about our show that made you say, okay, I got to reach out to Marcus and I want to be a guest on their show?
I think it was honestly just the word authentic in your branding. And I knew that I could have a real conversation with you. A lot of business podcasts I found just want to talk numbers or they just want to talk gains. But I really like to cover the whole story. Like I failed as an entrepreneur for 8 years before I felt really successful. And that's part of my journey that helps me be such a good coach and consultant today. But not everybody wants to have those kinds of conversations. So I just appreciate that you were really calling that in.
Well, Chuck, now that's a perfect segue talk to our audience about what does Chuck do? A little bit about your backstory, what you've gone through to get where you are today and what you're currently doing now in the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah, well, so to tell you what I'm doing right now, I help people go from 0 to, let's say, 20 with their business online. If they have no idea how to start telling people about their business, they're totally new to marketing and sales, I help them really get that first, website up, get the social media strategy up. And then I also help them with mindset and imposter syndrome when they actually get on those sales calls, because I had a huge problem for years of getting on sales calls and then undercharging because I would panic. And so once I started to understand how sales worked and I started to understand that I could deliver higher quality service if I charged more, I started to build momentum and learned how to, attract high ticket clients. And so I found that so many people with backgrounds similar to mine, people who have disability backgrounds, queer people, parents, they have such a hard time charging enough to get by. And those are the people who, in my mind, need the most encouragement. So I like to be a really vocal figure to say, like, you can be weird, you can be different, and you can be successful. You just have to overcome the part of yourself that tells you you're not good enough to charge enough to live a good life. And so that's really my present mission. And that's all informed by my previous, struggles for many, many years.
Two-part question. First, let me unpack that for the audience. Really love how you said people have to learn how to get by their own fear to charge what they deserve and what they should be getting for their time, right? Warren Buffett says it best. No matter how much money he has, he can never buy time. It can't be bought. No matter who you are, you could be Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, it doesn't matter. The clock keeps running for them, like it keeps running for us, right? So the two-part question I have for you is, one, why do you think people who come across, as you said, different, feel that they can't charge what they need to charge for their time and for their services? Is it from fear of rejection? Is it because they feel, different people are going to look at different to charge less to get into the door? Would love to hear your thoughts on why people feel they have to charge less. That's the first question.
I think there's a lot of reasons that people have, challenges with money and fear of charging more. I can speak for myself. A big part of it was that I didn't see anybody who looked like me who was successful. And so I didn't see myself as a person who could be successful. I saw myself as a scrappy person, a person who was, in my community, making things happen for people like me. But none of us were able to really be successful because we weren't really growing. We were all keeping each other at the same level of poverty together. And I think in at least in my experience in the queer communities I've been a part of, there is a lot of anti-money talk. There's a lot of Gay Hendricks speaks a lot about allegiance to poverty. If I grew up poor, all my friends are poor. And so if I become rich, then I betray who I have always been. And so for me, that was my big block, was I didn't want to betray my community of people who, hated money and were never going to make money and we're always going to struggle. And that's who we are. So I think that is a big barrier for at least a lot of the folks I've interacted with. And I think the other part is I work with a lot of women, and a lot of women are just taught to apologize for existing at all. And they're taught to, and so when I first started my journey, I felt like I apologized for charging almost nothing. And that was just sort of how I feel I was raised to interact with the world, was just to sort of apologize for taking up space at all. What a silly idea that I should even, have a business. And I had been hit with that messaging so much that I internalized it and then I projected it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And so I want to unpack that for a second. It's really sad that people feel they have to apologize for existing, because that's not what life's about, right? Life is about being proud of who you are, where you come from, what you bring to the table. We all are different, right? You're one person, Chuck. I'm another, right? You're Caucasian, I'm African American. I mean, I don't look at you any differently than just somebody that does a job, does a service, and works to do what they have to do. My father taught me a long time ago, Marcus, having people from different ethnicities, backgrounds, experiences, gender, sexual orientations, all those things make the workplace better. And I learned that from in the early 80s. And my father was a pioneer in that regard because he hired people who were, women, Middle Eastern, Asian, people who were, who were openly gay. My dad said, I don't care anything about that. Can you do the job? If you can do the job, you work for me. And that's where I learned it. And it's been ingrained in me for 42 years. So it's sad people feel that way. And I hope society starts to change because that needs to be changed immediately. That should just not even no longer be a conversation. That's want to kind of touch on that. And then the second question I had is talk to our audience, right, Chuck, about when you do charge a high ticket item, people actually look at you as more valuable and they actually want to pay you more for your high ticket coaching and or services.
Yeah, I would say I found that to be absolutely true. And I've also found that the clients who pay me more are less high maintenance. They're typically more relaxed. They're more flexible and better communicators. The people who pay me less expect me to know everything that they're thinking, and they don't want to take the time to tell me what they want. It's very interesting. And so, yeah, with these higher ticket clients, I've found that we're able to do better work together. And then they are able to make more from the work we do. And so they just naturally tell other people about what we've done together. And I will say being able to charge more means I have more resources to hire more, to invest in tools, to invest in efficiencies, which allow me to deliver a higher quality for everyone across the board, as opposed to just, struggling to get by with 10 low-paying clients.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I hope you got from that segment, I sure did from Chuck. When you charge more, it allows you to gather and to create and to equip yourself with more resources. Like Chuck said, better tools, better technology, more people, more help. I feel the same exact way. I have an internal manager. I have an external manager. I have a trademark and patent person. I've got a videographer. I've got a website developer, all these things. And we're working on new CRM tools, new integration tools, the Calendly. We're working on messaging and sequencing and Traingo and all these things. I remember when I was charging lower prices because I was just kind of starting out and trying to get my credentials up. I tell people all the time, I struggled immensely to provide a service for my clients because I was always scrambling and always behind the 8 ball. I have a question for you, Chuck. I'm a big believer that what you say about yourself should boost your self-confidence. What others say about you should build your book of business. Talk to our listeners about, because I heard you say a moment ago, how you work with your high-ticket clients, provide a great service, and what's happened, they're telling their friends, their networking, you're getting what? More clients, more referrals. Talk about how important it is for people, right, Chuck, to really understand that testimonials and other social proof will build your business faster than anything else.
Yeah, it's funny. I believe it was an Alex Hormozy reel this morning, and he said if you're talking to a plastic surgeon who's done 10,000 nose jobs and a plastic surgeon who's done 1, which one are you going to hire? You're going to hire the guy who's done 10,000 because he's done it. And so, yeah, having that social proof and having those people, especially from, like these sort of outliers, like a queer therapist or, these people who are maybe breaking new ground in their industries. They feel seen by me. They feel understood by me. And that's really the value I offer. I build you a great website. I can build anybody a great website. But for the people who have struggles similar to mine, who have, maybe they feel uncomfortable with traditional sales training, and most sales coaches I've worked with keep drilling the same stuff into people that doesn't feel right for them. But I actually listen to them and say, I felt the same way about sales training. And I agree. And I think this is how we should try to do it. I'm getting a little bit off track here, but you were asking about Sorry, do you mind rephrasing the question?
Oh, sure, sure. How important is it for people to gather testimonials to be able to move into that space, to be able to get more clients for themselves?
Right. And so the other part I wanted to say about that is yes, a happy client obviously recommends you to other people, but also every week I make time to answer questions and comments on LinkedIn or forums. And I make time to book short calls with people to solve a small problem for them. And sometimes they hire me and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they refer me to 3 more people. I had lunch with a gal who was just getting started in computer science, and she's referred 3 high ticket clients to me just through her friend network. She's never hired me, but she's referred 3 different people.
Wow. And here's another great question I have for you, okay? There's 4 areas of a successful business. I want you to break down each one and talk about, from your perspective, how it's important and why it's important. So the first one is marketing. I tell people all the time, if people don't know you exist, they can never buy your product and or your service. Chuck, talk about marketing. Why is it important? How is it important? How can people that don't have a lot of money market? How can people who are, maybe not knowing some of the best things to do, how can they get out there and market? Talk to our audience about all of these things.
So I'll say from where I'm standing, I'm primarily a content marketer. And so much of what I do is about putting out content every day so that if somebody does find one piece of content that clicks with them, there's a whole library that backs up what I have to say, that shows that I know more, and shows that my entire lexicon of information. So content can really back you up. If somebody hears about you or looks you up, if you have a great content strategy behind you, that is like, it's really good to add credibility or brand authority, as some people say. And I also want to invite people to expand their definition of marketing beyond just paid ads, beyond just content, because I do show up at events and I shake hands and I hand out business cards, or I offer to help people, or I get coffee with people, including my competitors. So many of my competitors, I actually refer to them as niche neighbors, because we all work together. We collaborate, we boost each other's stuff, we come up with courses and workshops together. So I would say, more than marketing, think about building a community. Think about building an ecosystem of people who are thriving around you, that you benefit from and who benefit from you. And I think marketing has become way too much about numbers and way too much about data. And it's really, every single person you're marketing to is a person that you're building a relationship with. So if you're building a relationship based on clickbait and an offer that doesn't actually come through, you're building a terrible relationship. But if you're giving value and if you're like showing up as a real person, that person could refer to you or purchase from you for many years. And so I would invite people to think about the relationships that their marketing builds.
Chuck, I love that segment. Couple things to take away. I hope our audience gains. Old-fashioned marketing, networking events, business cards, grabbing coffee. Don't lose sight of that. Yes, you have social media. Yes, you have paid ads. Yes, you have YouTube. Yes, you have TikTok. Awesome. But don't forget to mix up your marketing with what we call the old school marketing, because that's going to help you also move and get from marketing to the next part of a successful business, which is sales. Okay, sales. It's actually closing the leads that come through your pipeline. Chuck, talk about how important sales is and how you master sales in your own work.
I will say the biggest breakthrough for me was the concept of a qualifying sales call. Some people have surveys, some people have intake forms, but for me, I love getting on a qualifying call. And I actually have like a free resource, which is a script that anybody can use for qualifying calls if you're just getting started. A script was what helped me build this skill. But what I mean by qualifying call is I don't spend a long sales call with someone who doesn't make it through my qualification process. And the qualification process can be, can they afford me? Are they in the right industry? Do they have the materials in place for us to work together? Do I like talking to them on the phone for 15 minutes? And so the biggest thing for me is I think so many people waste time on long sales calls and long sales processes with people who are not the right fit. and you need to eliminate people sooner so that you do not waste your time and energy talking to people who are not ready to buy from you. That said, I think nurturing through content and through email marketing and all that is really good for getting people ready to buy from you if they're not ready yet. And then, similar to what I said before, sales is again about relationship building. It's about how can I create a mutually beneficial relationship between the two of us where we both grow and thrive from this. It's not what can I get from you. It's not what can I get you to say yes to. And I can't stand it when I get on sales calls and with someone else and they're trying to sell to me and I keep saying no and they keep pushing me. It makes me feel like I'm on a bad date. I'm like, why? I'm like, bro, like I said no, like stop. This is really awkward. So like if somebody says no to me, I'm just like, okay, have a great day. Like I gotta go. I'm not about to do that. I don't handle it.
That is fantastic. What I learned from that is, other than the funny comment, is that sales is relationship driven. So once you have nurtured the qualified lead to the point where they're ready to buy because they trust you, that leads me to the third part of successful business, the operations, right? So you've now got the business. Now it's about executing the business consistently and effectively to what? Create residual new leads from that client to get you more business. How do you, Chuck, kind of put into the mainframe when it comes to operations to make sure you're doing everything correctly once you close a marketing sales that now is going to be one of your clients?
So my background, my degree is actually in interactive design. And so I always think about things from a user perspective in two ways. One, is it fun to go through? And two, is it accessible? I used to work on government websites, making sure that people of all abilities could access information about healthcare. And I learned a lot about the different people who are going to interact with your applications, your websites, your emails. And so if it's hard to read, if it's hard to find, that's not acceptable to me. So for me, when I think about operations, it's about them coming into my world and how easy is it and how fun is it for them to get what they came for. And I try to build as much automation in as possible so I'm not doing that manually, or I hire people I trust to make sure that those things are handled. But that's where, like we said, charging more and being able to have those tools and technology that really supports a seamless experience for your customers just adds so much value if you put the time in.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all about making it a seamless, smooth process for your customers. Again, when you make more, invest into your business. And that leads to the fourth part of a successful business, finance. Learning how to not just make money, but budget your money, balance your money, make sure that it can last longer for you. Like I made money yesterday. Awesome. Well, I've got expenses coming out Thursday. I got to pay this expense. I got to pay for my internal manager. I got to pay for my external manager. I got to pay these expenses, right? So I'm looking, okay, I've got money in. Great. But that means I've got money coming out soon. What does that look like? How am I balancing? How am I making sure that I'm always in the black? Because I used to be in the red for so long because I sucked at my job. I could be real about that. So now I'm in a better position. So when I make money now, it's about being in the black. It's about, okay, this is coming in. I need to send this out, and making sure that you're budgeting and you're watching your dollars. This way you don't put yourself in a position where you're either over leveraged and you can't pay back a debt, or you're underfunded and you can't continue to pay your payroll or your other bills because you haven't balanced and budgeted your finances properly.
Yeah, I would say, I'm a little bit newer to that space because traditionally I was always undercharging and I was always struggling. And so I never had the excess to put into investing in my business. A funny part of my story is that I was laid off earlier this year, and the state that I've been allowed me to take unemployment as a small business grant. So I have received unemployment for 6 months, full unemployment, because I applied for a small business program through Oregon unemployment. And so that actually gave me so much of the startup funds I needed to invest in tools. And what I always think about before I make an investment is, how much time is this going to save me? Because I know how much I cost per hour. So if this automation is going to save me, 8 hours a week, then it's obviously worth it. And if it's a $20 a month tool. But then there are some tools that are, $600 a month. And I think about the other tools I have, and I think, does this really add $600 of value? Am I going to be able to make, 4 times as much as I put in? And so I think when I make investments, I try to think about how much time it's going to save me. For instance, hiring people. When I first started, I was doing everybody's social media graphics and writing and video editing myself. And now I hire folks who are recent grads. So I get to give them their first job experience, which I love. And then that gives me all the hours to work on either the automations and operations aspect or the consulting, which is, my hourly rate is high enough that it motivates me to try to get as much of that as possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a phenomenal interview with Chuck. Love all the information. I hope you gathered and gained from the 4 parts of a successful business: marketing, sales, operations, finance, something in each area to help you to grow, to ascend to the next level in your personal and your professional life. Chuck, if people want to connect with you, find out more about your services, how can they go about doing that?
I would say the best way is to search for my name, Chuck Copenspire. There's a lot of things I do, and there's a lot of names behind those. Identity Pending is my agency. Magical Weirdo is a community I'm building, and I'm also working on an app which does not have a name yet. So Chuck Copenspire is the easiest way to find the hub, where you'll find me on every social network, and you can find all my links that way.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, the authentic tip for this amazing episode. In life, charge what you are worth. Again, charge what you are worth. If you're not going to price yourself accordingly, then people are going to always pay you under your value. It's no one's job but your own to value you and market you and price you exactly where you belong for the services and the value you provide. Love how Chuck said that. Again, this episode was sponsored by Power Plus Mouthguard and Stout Franchise Advisors. I'd like to thank both of you for aligning your brand with our show. Again, phenomenal interview by Chuck. My name is Marcus Ogden, the host of the Get Authentic with Marcus show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.
Message and data rates may apply. Guys, got hair loss? I know what you're thinking. Should I shave my head, comb it over, wear a hat? Just stop. This isn't 1970. Keep your hair and your confidence, because Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration experts, can give you your real hair back permanently. Check them out today, because they're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to anyone that texts EASY to 203203. Dude, you don't have to look like your dad, because this isn't your dad's hair loss treatment. People all over the country trust Bosley because they're ahead of the curve. They use the latest technology to give you your real hair back. And the best part? Bosley's permanent solution is protected by the Bosley Guarantee. Let Bosley show you for free how awesome your hair could look with an absolutely free information kit and a gift card for $250 off. Text EASY to 203203. That's BASY to 203203.
Welcome to the CPAP Games live from the Hayes bedroom. It's another eventful night, Bruce.
It sure is, Ron. Steve has been flailing everywhere, struggling with this CPAP.
His wife, Michelle, is as tense as a fiddle string, trying to contain her rage.
Michelle's rolling Steve over.
There he goes, and the mask is off! Oh my, the snoring!
Michelle throws an elbow, now a shove.
And she's leaving for the couch. Taking her place is the Hayes' 100-pound lab. Bask in that dog breath, Steve.
With all this struggle, Steve should get Inspire.
Absolutely, Bruce. Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment that gives you comfortable, restful sleep with the click of a remote. That's right, a button. As you sleep, Inspire keeps you breathing normally and sleeping peacefully. There's no mask and no hose. Just sleep.
Learn more at inspiresleep.com. That's inspiresleep.com.
Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com.